Do, do I look different?
Yes.
Welcome to the Dark Evil Experience. We're here to take your soul. When it comes around, it brings me to my knees. Satan! Satan!
Hail to the king, baby.
Wait for it. Hey, and welcome to another episode of the Scream Kingdom, recorded live in the Tavern of Terror in beautiful downtown Fremont, Ohio. I'm Tom, the Scream King. I can do anything, not to be confused with the Lizard King. I look nothing like Jim Morrison. As you know from that little clip at the intro featuring my beautiful mug, we're talking about Phantasm. That's right, Phantasm. The 1979 original, widely regarded as a horror classic, directed by Don Coscarelli. It introduced us to one of the most iconic villains in horror history, Angus Scrimm as the Tall Man, the mysterious Tall Man, the mortuary dwelling cat that's up to evil deeds with the help of one of the great weapons, plot mechanisms, maybe even characters of horror history, the Sentinel Sphere, these little chrome balls that fly through the air and do really nasty shit to people. We're introduced to our protagonists, which is Jody, an orphaned young man who has a little brother who's taking care of Mike, and their friend, the friendly neighborhood ice cream man slash guitar player, Reg, who is played by the equally iconic, Reggie Bannister. Now, the original is batshit in so many ways. There's so many elements and so many different genres. There's sci-fi, there's supernatural, there's slasher, there's an excellent theme music, there's cemetery sex, there's weird yellow goo coming out of stuff, there's midget people shrunk down into drums, basically reanimated corpses that are shrunk down and taken to a mysterious red planet for slave labor. We find out later there's a tuning fork mechanism, and there's a lot of really cool stuff, and one of the most iconic cars in horror history, right up there with Ash's Delta 88, is the Hemi Cuda in Phantasm. We're introduced to some weird psychic friends, and just a whole lot of batshit craziness. Weird flies, flopping fingers, you name it, this has it. Obviously, Phantasm was a low-budget movie. Apparently, the budget, as reported, was around $300K. They made $7 million worldwide on a $300,000 investment, and probably more in the home video market since then. I mean, who actually keeps tracking this shit? But inevitably, there was going to be a sequel, and I have a great story about the first time I saw Phantasm. A friend of mine's mother had a significant other that had a massive sound system, and he had a Laserdisc player hooked up to that with a big console TV. Remember those? Well, I went to my friend's house, and we did some low-grade LSD that was popular at the time, called Purple Microdot, which was a hallucinogen, but like I said, a low-level one. He popped in the Laserdisc, and like I said, this was my formative teenage years. So Phantasm at that point had been out maybe 5 or 6 years. He popped in the Laserdisc. We sat back and tripped the fuck out on this movie because, like I said, it's just so batshit that even when you're of sound and clear mind, it's still out there, but amazingly it works. But like I said, they made a big profit on this, so you knew there was going to be a sequel. Unfortunately for horror fans, it took 9 years for the sequel to come about, and the sequel I'm talking about is Phantasm 2, The Ball is Back. It picks up right where Phantasm 1 left off, but they jump ahead a few years. They rehash that footage, and then they jump ahead, and we see the now adult Michael, who strangely does not look like Michael at all. A. Michael Baldwin is not in this movie. Now, Reg and Mike are on the path of the tall man. Along the way, they make some incredible weapons, including a flamethrower that's basically a large hose clamp with 3 bottles of what appears to be map gas, and a welding helmet that even with the big flame, anybody that's ever put one on knows you're not going to be able to see out of it, which was strange. And then Reg with his soon-to-be iconic 4-barreled shotgun with the help of some hose clamps and some angle grinder and a couple other things. So very MacGyver-esque with the weaponry. Just like the original, there's some car chases, there's some car crashes, there's a lot of carnage. It culminates, they meet some young ladies, and it culminates with an acid as embalming fluid finale that is just, it's got to be seen to be believed. And oddly enough, as much as I like this movie, it's probably one of the weakest in the franchise. But that ended up spawning 6 years later, a little sooner than the first sequel, Phantasm 3, Lord of the Dead. Now, the weird part about this is they still use the rehashed footage from part 1 to open this movie, but Mike has changed. He looks strangely different, even though he's survived a car crash and wakes up in the hospital after a near-death experience where he talks to his brother who tells him not to go into the light. But we soon find out that, hey, the original Mike, A. Michael Baldwin, is back. And holy shit, is he in for some strange stuff. Again, they're on the trail of the tall man, visiting ghost towns that he's left in his wake. Reg falls foul of some comically portrayed looters who do some crazy shit to him. He ends up locked in the Hemikuda. And then we're introduced to the characters of Tim and the duo of Tanisha and Rocky. There's zombies. There's the scattergun with 4 barrels comes back. Of course, there's the Cuda. There's all kinds of crazy shit that goes on. There's like I said, zombies and just bizarre stuff. Oddly enough, this makes the second movie in a row that Reg gets laid in, which is almost as absurd as some of the weapons, but we'll get more to that later. Again, another quality movie, lots of action elements, lots of slasher elements, lots of supernatural elements, and a lot of fun, which, like I said, starting with the spirit of the original, it's just a batshit amalgamation of so many elements, and impossibly it works. Which brings us to the next sequel, which they only took them 4 years this time, which brings us to Phantasm 4, Oblivion. Again, we have A. Michael Baldwin back as Mike, and Reggie Bannister, the esteemed Reggie Bannister, who, by the way, is in hospice care right now. Reggie, our thoughts are with you. They're coming back. They're both back for this one. Again, on the trail of the tall man. And like I said, the OG Mike is back. Jody is back in a weird sphere form and sometimes in physical form. Reggie and Mike get separated, and they're trying to both conquer the tall man and be reunited in their quest to end his reign. And there's a lot of dimension hopping and a lot of creative stuff that kind of breathes a little air into what coming into the sequel was kind of becoming familiar territory. So they did a great job in mixing it up, and this did great on the home video market. One of my favorite sequels in the franchise, and it just works really well. I think you'll enjoy that one. And then it takes them 18 years to revisit this franchise, which oddly enough is the frequently shat upon, but something that I enjoy, Phantasm Ravager, which came out in 2016. Now this one was directed by David Hartman, so Coscarelli did not come back for this one. But you have A. Michael Baldwin, you have Reg, of course, as the main character. And this is kind of like predating the Marvel movies by so many years. This introduces us to the Phantasm multiverse. There's a lot of dimension hopping. There's a lot of more sci-fi elements, interdimensional travel in this one, as Reg is working towards his final showdown with the tall man. There's a lot of nightmare worlds and stuff. We're introduced to Chunk, the dwarf, as a main character, and then as if it couldn't get any more badass, the Hemikuda has machine guns in this one. Yes, fucking machine guns on the Hemikuda. Now, Ravager came out right with it, coincided on release, especially with physical media, with the 2016 remaster of the original, which was done by J.J. Abrams and his Bad Robot Company. That is this one right here. Now, if you have a chance to see this movie, see it in this format, because this is a lovingly redone remaster and just beautiful restoration of this film. There's been two sets that have been put out. Arrow Video, which I love Arrow Video. I love their releases. I don't think they dropped the ball on Phantasm when they released their set of it, but the Well-Go set, I don't have the limited one, but not many people do. If you can find the Well-Go set, the transfers are far superior, especially on One and Ravager. And they all look amazing on Blu-ray, but they really cleaned up Phantasm 1, which is kind of a love letter from J.J. Abrams to horror fans. He was really influenced by the movie when he did Star Wars: The Force Awakens. He actually the character, the stormtrooper commander, Captain Phasma, was inspired by Phantasm, hence the name Phasma, and then the shiny chrome armor that the character wears in the Star Wars movies. That was inspired by J.J. Abrams' love of this movie, and like I said, the restoration by his Bad Robot Company and then the Well-Go Blu-ray release of it is the way to go if you're going to watch the first movie. And this franchise is, like I said, it's so batshit crazy and it's so out there, but for some reason it works. Like I said, there's action elements, there's slasher elements, there's supernatural elements, all wrapped up in like a weird sci-fi, package. And there's so many iconic things. I mean, we've already talked about the Hemikuda, the ice cream man, who's balding on top with the ponytail in Reg, Mike coming and going, the shrunk down monstrous reanimated corpses that they're robbing from the graveyard for slave labor on this mysterious planet, the portal with the tuning fork like obelisks kind of that open up the portal to the other planet. Reg is the reluctant, put upon, downtrodden hero that has some of the craziest one-liners and the ineptitude. It's almost like he's a horror cousin to Ash Williams from the Evil Dead series. And there's just so much to love about the Phantasm series. There's a reason that I didn't mention it in my franchise horror episode, and that's because I wanted to touch upon it in its own separate episode, because it's such a fun and beloved horror franchise that if you haven't checked it out, definitely check it out. If you've already seen them all, revisit them, man. Buy the Well-Go set, take a weekend, pop some popcorn, have some adult beverages, and watch them all in a marathon. You won't regret it, and you'll leave with a little bit of apprehension the next time you see a shiny ball bearing somewhere, because those spheres will fuck you up, man. Stay tuned. Right after this, I have an interview discussion with actor, filmmaker, and author Cameron Scott, who's also a big fan of the Phantasm franchise. And we take a short time to have a quick discussion about what we love about this, and we'll touch on some of the points that I've already talked about. But stay tuned for that, and support independent horror. Thanks. Okay, welcome to the Tavern of Terror, filmmaker, author, actor, and all around horror aficionado, Mr. Cameron Scott. Cam, welcome to the Tavern of Terror. Welcome to the Scream Kingdom.
Well, thanks for having me. We've known each other quite a while, but I think this is the first time I've been on here.
I think so, and like I said, I'll hoist a glass and welcome you here. So the topic, and I'm going to ask you the question right off the bat. Do you remember the first time you saw Phantasm? Don Coscarelli's now masterpiece, Phantasm.
uh, Excuse me, sorry, still shaking off a cold.
Oh, no
Uh,
problem.
I was very little. I was probably 5 or 6, maybe 7 at the oldest. So uh, I got to see all the naughty bits of that movie, but I had a very cool mother who introduced me to a lot of horror and a lot of sci-fi. And I remember being transfixed. I was much younger than the Mike character was. He was supposed to be what, 13, 14.
Yeah,
And you know, uh, but I admired that kid's tenacity and just, he got to ride motorcycles and drive a Hemi Cuda and fire shotguns and do all the kind of cool things that, you want.
yeah, and then he had the cool older brother Jody, who was getting laid and everything else. So he had that going for him, and
Yeah.
the quintessential ice cream
Like,
man, Reg.
oh, fucking Reg. I love Reg. I got to meet the entire cast. I met Reg several times and Don Coscarelli several times. But at Screamfest this past year, I got to meet Bill Thornbury for the first time,
No shit.
Kathy Lester for the first time, Michael Baldwin for the first time, and I got to tell my little sob story about how I never had an older brother to Bill Thornbury, but I always looked upon his character Jody as the older brother that I never had. And the guy just gave me a big bear hug, and he's like, "Well, we're brothers in arms now."
Nice, nice. I've had the pleasure of
So
meeting
it was a very cool moment.
Reggie and Gigi Bannister one time at Cinema Wasteland years ago, and both incredible people. Really sad that Reg is home now with hospice care. I know on his social media, if anybody wants to look it up, they do have an address where you can send well wishes to Reggie Bannister, who is probably at the end of his run, so to speak. So
Yeah,
all the
yeah.
thoughts to him, all the good vibes to him.
I sent him a little letter and a card and talking to him about the movie that we had filmed together. It came from Trafalgar and how I was his basically his on-set bitch. I catered to his every need, and I drove him around back and forth to the hotel and everything. So, and I got to act in a scene with him. So, if the movie ever comes out, it'll be great because it's got a lot of great people in it. But getting to meet and work with Reggie was something else. That's where I found out that he likes Johnny Walker Black.
Nice. Yeah, I met him at Wasteland. He was really gracious. I did some video because I was doing a searching for Chainsaw Sally video montage for the old nerdremix.com at the time, and talked to him and his wife. He was very gracious, very down to earth. And I have the ice cream man picture signed on the wall of the
Yes,
Tavern of Terror
they
over there
both
by the
are.
fridge. So
G
when it
both are both great people.
Yeah, absolutely. When it comes to the sequels, the second one, The Ball is Back. I think a lot of people, one of their favorite things about the franchise is, of course, I think the official name is the Sentinel Sphere. Um, I just rewatched the second one the
There's
other night.
Sentinels or the Spheres.
Yeah, yeah. I believe you held up a replica of one earlier. I do not have one. I got to get one of those.
Yep.
Nice.
Got one of those. Had to pull it out of my back. It was kind of stuck back there. But
Didn't drill into your head or anything, right?
nah, it missed. I don't have any brains in there to drill out anyway.
Now, the original, I think, has a good blend of scares. It's a very original story. There are some cheesy bits that, maybe could have been had they had a better budget, The Fly comes to mind. Um, there's some absurdity. The hammer shotgun shell, I think, is probably
Oh
physically
yeah, how
impossible.
more kids didn't get in.
No shit. There should be a disclaimer on that.
There should be.
What, as far as the sequels, what would you say is probably your favorite Phantasm sequel?
Hot take here, controversial take. Ravager. I know Ravager is not considered to be one of the more favorite sequels. And I know people I've talked to say they think it's like you mentioned earlier, the words cheesy and kind of absurd, but I really like it. I kind of feel like Ravager kind of touched upon that whole membrane theory or that theory of there being layers of worlds and being
Mhm.
you know as as they say in the Stephen King's The Dark Tower go now, there are other worlds in these, and there's just so many different layers to it. And I know a lot of people don't like it because Don Coscarelli did not direct it, and I'm not. I mean, he gave it his blessing. He was surprised when I had told him myself that I liked that one the most. If I had to rank them in order, I would go 1, 5, 2, 4, and 3. And I know because there's something about part 3 that has the Home Alone aspect with the kid in it that it just kind of you know
Yeah,
I love the Rocky character,
yeah.
so I'm really torn between that one. That one kind of flip flop with 3 and 4 kind of flip flops which one is takes the bottom of the barrel. But
See,
yeah, I love Ravagers. I love the
I dug Ravager as well. I think a lot of it was fan service, which I'm all about. If you're going to do a fan service movie, that's the movie to. I mean, that's the franchise to do it in, right? And so many other franchises have done it, but I I think Ravager probably gets shit on more than it should. Uh, and it being, as far as I know, Angus
lucky
Scrimm's
to
last
have it.
movie. I know exactly, and Reg gets laid in every sequel, I believe. Speaking of absurd, but somehow Reggie gets
Yeah,
laid in every
yeah, he is
sequel.
quite the ladies' man in these movies.
Yeah, he is. He is. Well, I think it's the ponytail.
It's the ponytail and it's the CUDA. The
Yeah, the
CUDA just
Cuda.
works, man.
That his MacGyver-esque kind of aptitude with weaponry and modifying shotguns to 4 barrels and stuff. That was something that struck me in part
Yeah,
two. That
that
was kind of absurd. The I'm going to take 3 bottles of MAP gas essentially, hose clamp them together, and suddenly have a flamethrower. But I'm going to wear a welding helmet that anybody who's ever put one on knows I'm still not going to be able to see out of.
yeah, I think that was part of the whole Rambo slash, gearing up for warfare, montage that every action movie that had to have. I mean, Phantasm is a straight up not slasher, but a sci-fi horror movie, whereas part 2 I consider to be more of an action film. And
Yeah, yeah,
I'm not trying
absolutely.
to disparage it for that, but it's kind of the difference there.
Yeah, I think you touched upon something there because the era that it came out, the action film was really big. You had the Schwarzenegger films, the Stallone films, and the other guy, the Van Damme films, things like that. There was a lot of action films,
Mm.
like playing incessantly on HBO, like Cobra and Commando and Rambo and First Blood and things like that. So yeah, I mean, it might have been a symptom of
Ones
it.
that come to mind.
Yeah, and I think there's a little bit of maybe horror movie lineage um, between Ash Williams and Reg. That kind of reluctant, maybe just a touch incompetent hero that's a little overconfident in his abilities. I don't know. What's your take on that?
Yeah, yeah, he's kind of like him. I think Reggie and Ash would have been a great duo. because they're loudmouth braggarts, both of them, and they consider themselves ladies men, where Reggie probably has a little bit more bragging rights in that kind of respect. But yeah, I mean, he's kind of the boastful guy, that he's, except for in part two when he's like, when his buddy Mike is just like, you're a bald middle-aged ice cream vendor, and he's like, yeah, thanks, Mike. Thanks for reminding me. He's like, but I'm the one getting laid while you're talking to somebody with your mind.
True, true. And he
But
does it in every movie.
he has some tenacity about him. He takes some punches, he takes some licks, but he gets up and he keeps on ticking. And I think that's part of the allure of Reggie. They have no, lows that they won't hit and get back up from. I mean, for all intents and purposes, he popped that at the end of part two, but he pops back up. Part three and part four, you leave Reggie in these precarious positions where he shouldn't walk away from it, but he somehow does.
Yeah, absolutely. He kind of, he picks up the Jody mantle and he completely runs with it, including getting laid in weird situations. And then, you can't discount the hugeness of the tall man as a villain. I mean, Angus Scrimm, that's he. I mean, he is the tall man. He's probably was horribly typecast because of the tall man, but I don't think you could. I mean, Phantasm is one of those movies that you could never remake. I don't think because you would never have the actors that could fill those shoes.
No, no, and I've often been asked, even by my wife, who I would cast in the dream role of you know Angus Scrimm as the tall man. I'm like, there's really nobody to replace him. The only person I can think of, and this might be a controversial hot take, but I'll let it go here, is Clancy Brown. Clancy Brown, he's tall, he's got a booming kind of voice, but his take would be different. I mean, his take's not going to be the same as Angus, but if there ever were to be a Phantasm, continuation or God forbid a reboot or a remake, which I'm not behind, I would guess Clancy Brown. I mean, he's definitely a formidable force, but Angus, there was something about him. He was so chilling, so evil, with a man of few words, on screen. But if you ever met him in real life, he was one of the sweetest human beings you would ever encounter. Just a sweet, sweet man.
Hmm. I was also thinking, probably not old enough. Well, he probably is now. I can't. His name is slips my mind right now. The guy that played Mahogany in the Midnight Meat Train. Um, I believe his name is Reggie.
Oh, uh, well, Vinnie Jones.
Vinnie Jones. Yes, absolutely. I think he could play the tall man. He has the right look
I
of
think I
menace in
think
his
he could take
face.
a pretty good stab at it.
Yeah. Well, not that we're
Yeah.
condoning a reboot here. Let's get that straight, right? The
Uh,
remaster
no,
of
I'm not
Phantasm,
condoning it. I'm just saying it.
the remaster that
Yeah, I
Welgo
don't think
did.
you could do that. I don't think
Yeah,
I don't even think you should do that.
yeah.
I don't care if they put $100 million into it. It is something that just shouldn't happen.
I think the remaster that Welgo and Bad Robot did on the original is probably the most fitting tribute you could give it, as opposed to a remake. I mean, I don't know if you've.
Yes.
I've taken a look. Maybe I might be in the minority here. I haven't really researched it, but as far as the Arrow remaster, which don't get me wrong, Arrow Video, I love their stuff. They do fantastic jobs, especially with the Argento movies. Um, I think Welgo's remaster of the original looks the best out of the sets that are available.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That rematch about or whatever it was, it's
Hmm.
just amazing. It's the best it's ever going to look.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, considering the source material, but and then Coscarelli went on to do Bubba Hotep with Bruce fucking Campbell, another beloved actor, and
Hmm.
Phantasm, man. I mean, what can you say is probably the one line that had the most impact over the whole franchise on you?
Oh, geez, that's a tough one. You know what? It's going to be, when Reggie and Jody are playing guitar, and he's like, we're hot as love. That's the one I always go back to. It's just the absurdity of it. I love it. But if I had to pick two, if you allow me to pick two, I'd be like the OG is
I
just
see.
chilling.
I would go with Mike in the first one. My favorite line is, "Man, you got to be shitting me. That mother is strong."
Yeah, that is a good one. That's a top five for sure.
But anyway,
Or just
Cam,
Reggie, or just Reggie doing his simple, like every time he gets frustrated when a weapon doesn't work right, or he's set up against insurmountable odds, and he's just like, God damn it. You just it's just so simple, but the way he delivers it is so good.
yeah, I mean, you have the slapstick reluctant hero, you have the bizarre weapons, you have the action scenes, you have a car chase in every film with the Hemi Kudo, who's just right up there with the Delta. You know what I mean? And
Oh yeah.
Phantasm. I mean, I don't know. I hope people watch this who have never seen the series, maybe, and take a look at it because there's a lot of fun and it's really like no other horror franchise as far as just veering from, like you said, the science fiction angle, the almost slasher angle, the supernatural angle, and it's just so batshit and so awesome. So,
These are vastly different, and I appreciate that about it. And and with any other series, you know, like Phantasm does this more than any other series. They present more questions than they give you answers. And with any other series, that would piss me off. But with Phantasm, it leaves me wanting more and more. And just like Don Coscarelli's book, Fiction, spelt with a PH, is great because there's six stories in there. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. It's a great book, but it's all at different points in time, each told from a different character. There's one story told, by Chunk from Ravager. There's one told by Rocky, and one by Reggie, one by Mike, and it's such a great book. I couldn't put it down. When I met Don Coscarelli last year, I told him straight up, I'm like, you gotta.
I'm wondering if they'll ever do a 4 hour plus documentary on the Phantasm series, like they've done for Friday the 13th, Return of the Living Dead, Hellraiser, and now Child's Play. It's definitely there's definitely some material to mine there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a lot of material to mine, but with Angus being gone and Reggie being in such, awful shape, I wonder how comprehensive it could be without their involvement. But I would still be down for it because there's so many stories to tell, and I'm sure everybody's got an Angus story and everybody's got a Reggie story, and I'd be first and foremost one to hear each and one of those.
Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of archival stuff too, but yeah. So anyway, Cam, what have you got going on that you want to plug?
Well, right now, I just finished filming my part for Cruel Summer Part 4 several weeks back. That's getting ready to film its second leg of the shoot here in a couple of weeks, but I'll not be a part of it because I finished my part. So look out for that. That's from Lost Bastard Productions with Scott Tepperman and Jim O'Rear. Uh, I
I've
got
seen the
another
first
short
three.
story getting published, and yeah, I enjoy them. I enjoy making them, and I enjoy them as a fan. Uh, I got a third short story getting ready to get published for the getting published for the third time in the year and a half. So I've been working on that. I'm working on a novelization of one of my scripts because I couldn't my death care script, which has been long gestating as a movie for since like 2018, 2019. I just can't get it made, and I'm not willing to compromise on the budget, you know.
Hmm.
So I'm turning that into a novel. So that'd be my full if I can publish. Hopefully, that won't be too much of a problem. And if it is, then I'll just self-publish it. There's means for that. And starting here in a week on my podcast, Cinema Degeneration, I'm going to be doing a David Cronenberg Appreciation Month. We're doing 6, maybe 7 episodes if I can get another person on, all dedicated to David Cronenberg's work. So we're going to be a body horror heavy month, and
Nice.
that's really all I got going on. And I'll be at Cinema Wasteland next week as well.
I'm surprised in there'll be the third episode of the rebooted Scream Kingdom. I'm surprised how much I talk about Cinema Wasteland, and anybody that's in the area, definitely try to make that pilgrimage at least once.
Yeah, it's the best convention around. It may be one of the smallest, but damn it, it's one of the most fun shows. Even if I don't have a table, even if there's no guests there that I really want to see, I go there just to watch the movies. There's people that I consider family that are there. I mean, one of the few times that we met in person was at Wasteland,
Yeah,
and when you were promoting Zombitch, if I remember correctly.
absolutely.
And
There's in the opening credits
there's
of
just
this
so many people there that I
in the opening
yeah.
credits of this show. There's a photo of us together at Wasteland. So
Oh, nice,
yeah.
nice. Yeah, there's people that I only see at the Wasteland, so it makes it special. And I met my wife there, so hey, how lucky can a guy get?
Well, anyways, probably luckier than appearing on a show other than this. But thanks for coming. I appreciate it. um, Thanks a lot.
Anytime,
We'll
anytime.
definitely be plugging Cinema Degeneration, and I hope to see you real soon. And I'm sure it'll probably end up being at Cinema Wasteland over a beverage or two. So
Yeah,
thanks a lot,
bring me
Cam.
that pint glass you've been promising me.
I will, brother. Thank you for coming on and support independent horror, man. Thanks.
Hey everyone, just a quick reminder to check out the people that we support and that support us. And speaking, of course, of the podcasts and shows that we check out, first and foremost, you need to check out our only sponsor, because I am the proprietor, the Audient Void Brewing Company, right here in beautiful Fremont, Ohio. I'm having a Dirty Dan malt liquor right here, and once again, it tastes like freedom. Also, check out the Borgo Pass Horror Podcast, hosted by my pal Jim Towns and his frequent collaborator, the inevitable Livio Marino, among other people. They do deep dives on horror movies from 30s and 40s and 50s. If it's black and white, if it's got Boris Karloff, Bela Lugosi, Basil Rathbone, or any host of that, a monster, a werewolf, a vampire, anything like that, they cover it, and they do a deep, in-depth dive, deeper than anybody else does, I think. And it's a very entertaining podcast. Definitely check that out. And The Jam with Brock and Dan, which is hosted by my son and his co-host Dan Gardner. They talk about basically the life experiences of two 30-somethings in this crazy world, and music, skateboarding, and things of that nature. Basically culture. Check that out. Very entertaining listen. Casually Friday with Kane Hodder, Tiffany Shepis, and Felissa Rose is always a fun listen while you're on a drive. And check out my guest on this episode, his podcast, Cam Scott, with Cinema Degeneration. Wherever you get your podcasts, check those out. And thank you for supporting the Scream Kingdom and independent horror movies. We're all horror nerds, right? Horror nerds unite. Thanks.
No.